If you believe that truth is served on a silver platter, your belief is misplaced, for reaching it demands an exhausting journey that stretches the limits of endurance. It is a journey you must undertake alone, armed with a present mind, an awakened intellect, and open eyes, for truth is like salt dissolved in seawater. Perhaps this dissolution is coincidental, but more often than not, someone has deliberately concealed it amidst lies. In any case, dear followers, allow us, at your request, to present the documentary Secrets of the Hidden World. This is a documentary exploration of the book The Biggest Secret by the English author and presenter David Icke, a work that has remained a focal point of heated debate due to the contentious topics it raises, sparking global controversy. We have supplemented the documentary with observations that clarify ambiguities, dispel confusion, and occasionally propose alternative perspectives that may rectify errors or amend distortions. Despite the significance of this book, which compiles nearly all the most contentious and widely discussed issues of the past 20 years related to conspiracy theories, we maintain reservations about some of its content. However, as we often say, never lose your compass, and keep your gaze fixed on the heavens to avoid getting lost. Take from it what resonates with your reasoning and guides you closer to the truth. Ultimately, it is a human contribution, and as with all human efforts, it is open to acceptance and critique alike. Sharpen your mind with free and critical thinking. Be prepared, for the journey ahead is captivating and thrilling, yet also arduous and demanding. We stand on the brink of a profound and unexpected transformation, akin to a crossroads. Thus, we must make decisive choices to unlock the gates of mental and emotional prisons. Those very prisons that have kept humanity fragmented into countless pieces for millennia, enslaving them mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically through a global government, an army, and a central bank. I am aware that what I am about to propose may seem strange. However, if you lift your eyes above the distractions of global entertainment, you will see that this is not merely a future occurrence, it is unfolding before us now. The driving force behind centralized control of politics, commerce, banking, militaries, and media is gaining momentum, accelerating the implementation of a covert agenda. Consider the mergers among banks and corporate empires, the political and economic inclinations toward centralization through the European Union, the World Trade Organization, multilateral investment agreements, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and the G7 or G8 summits. This is no random coincidence. Behind this ongoing and coordinated centralization lies a lineage rooted in the ancient Middle East and Near East. During the Middle Ages, this lineage gave rise to Europe's royal families, aristocracy, and clergy before imposing its authority globally, particularly through the British Empire. This expansion allowed the lineage to infiltrate all nations colonized by European and British powers, including the United States. Remarkably, out of over 40 U.S. presidents, 33 traced their ancestry back to European roots, specifically to the line of Alfred the Great, King of England, and Charlemagne, the famed 9th-century ruler of France. Over successive historical eras, this lineage has worked methodically to execute its agenda, bringing us to an era where comprehensive, centralized control is now feasible. If you wish to glimpse what life will become if we fail to awaken and act swiftly, look no further than Germany under Nazi rule. This is the world awaiting us if the plan I call the Brotherhood program or the organization agenda continues to unfold. Yet, most people remain oblivious to the precipice we face or the kind of world we are bequeathing to our children. Tragically, people appear indifferent, preferring to ignore what is glaringly obvious and persist in denying the unmistakable truth. I feel like a lone cow sprinting across a field, shouting to my herd. Do you know the truck that comes every month and takes some of us away? It doesn't take them to another field as we thought. It kills them, cuts them into pieces, and places the parts in bags for humans to buy and eat. Now, imagine the herd's response. You're insane, they wouldn't do that. We even own shares in the shipping company and earn a decent return. Stop making trouble. This program, which I am about to discuss, has been in development for thousands of years, reaching near completion in our current era because humanity has abandoned reason and shirked its responsibilities without contemplating the consequences of its actions for the future of existence. We often say that ignorance is bliss, and while this may be true, it is only so for a fleeting moment. With our heads buried in the sand, the storm will strike, and due to ignorance and denial, it will hit us where we least expect. When we relinquish our minds and responsibilities, we forfeit our lives. This is why the few have always ruled over the many. Yet, the only difference today is that these few now dominate the entire world, manipulating humanity as they please through the globalization of business, communications, and banking. The foundation of their control is singular: to keep the masses in a state of profound ignorance, fear, and internal conflict. While dividing, ruling, and subjugating people, they hoard knowledge for themselves. As we shall see, those who have employed these methods to exert control for millennia belong to the same hybrid tribe and follow a long-term program, a program that has now reached a critical juncture. But things need not unfold this way. True power lies in the hands of the majority, not the minority. The reason we fall under their control is not because we lack the power to determine our destiny, but because we surrender that power every moment of our lives. When something displeasing occurs, we always look for someone else to blame. When a global problem arises, we ask what they will do about it. It is at that moment that those who secretly engineered the problem from the outset respond by offering a solution that entails further centralization of authority and the erosion of freedoms. In times of fear, people willingly abandon their freedom, seeking protection from the very ones who created the fear. This theory or technique is encapsulated by the Masonic slogan, Ordo ab Chao, order out of chaos. In simpler terms, create chaos, then offer a solution to restore order, your order. The bombing in Oklahoma is a glaring example of this, as we shall later observe. The masses are led and herded through a variety of methods, but all rely on mental and emotional control, for it is the only viable approach. A small minority cannot physically dominate hundreds of millions of people. While physical control of the world's population is impossible, it is also unnecessary. When one can manipulate the way people think and feel, they can be persuaded to willingly act in accordance with another's desires and even demand laws that serve the interests of their manipulator. It is an age-old technique. If you wish someone to do something, make them believe it was their idea. Since the human mind is susceptible to control, why search far and wide? It suffices to manipulate one's mind so that they think and act according to the manipulator's desires. When advertisements persuade you to purchase an item you neither need nor want, or when you hear or read distorted or biased news that sways your opinion about a person or event, it is a clear sign that your mind is under control. Consider military training. It is a striking example of brain control. From the very first day, soldiers are conditioned to follow orders without questioning them. If a superior commands them to fire upon strangers they have never met and know nothing about, they will do so without hesitation. This is the "yes, sir" mentality, and it extends beyond the military realm. How often have we heard an employee say, "I know this isn't right, but my boss asked me to do it, and I had no choice." How could there be no choice? We have never been devoid of options. It is simply a matter of control. Recently, the list of brainwashing techniques has expanded because they are after your mind. Once they gain control over your mind, they gain control over you. Thus, the solution lies in reclaiming our minds, thinking for ourselves, and daring to stand apart without fear of ridicule or condemnation for being different. If you ask why this is necessary, the answer is that the program I am about to elaborate upon is already underway. However, if we regain control over our minds and reclaim our authority over our thoughts, the program will fail because its foundations will crumble. I have traveled to more than 20 countries and conducted research within them, observing the same mechanisms at play in each. Policies and structures are invariably adopted within the framework of the overarching program. Yet, despite this, a profound awakening has emerged, as more individuals begin to heed the call of the spiritual alarm, stirring from their intellectual and emotional slumber. We shape our reality with our thoughts and actions, and by transforming these thoughts and actions, we can alter the world. It is truly as simple as that. Accordingly, I will trace the history of this hybrid lineage that dominates the world today and expose the true nature of this overarching program. I emphasize that what I am presenting is a program, not mere conspiracies. Conspiracies are tools, manipulations of individuals and events, to ensure the program's implementation. These conspiracies manifest in three forms. 1. Collusion to eliminate individuals and organizations that threaten the program, such as Princess Diana of Wales. 2. Placement of individuals who will advance the program in positions of power and influence, such as George Bush, Henry Kissinger, Tony Blair, and others. 3. Creation of events designed to compel people to demand the adoption of the program. Although these events may appear unrelated on the surface, they are intricately connected to achieve the program's goals. The question remains, will a totalitarian fascist state emerge in the coming years? This question can be answered with another: will we become free, or will we remain enslaved? The implementation of the program hinges upon our response to this final question. Consequently, I must warn you that an overwhelming amount of shocking information lies ahead. If your life is anchored to the current belief system, or if you feel incapable of confronting the reality of what is happening in this world, I urge you to stop watching. However, if you choose to proceed, remember, there is nothing to fear. Life is merely an experiment on the path to enlightenment. Even if some of the information may initially alarm you, this remains an extraordinary time to be alive. I was faced with two choices. The first was to withhold the shocking information and share only what wouldn't challenge people's minds, a safer route that would keep me within the bounds of comfort. The second was to trust you as a mature individual seeking the truth and present you with this information, no matter how unsettling or unusual it may seem. I chose the more difficult path. I must share everything I know, not just what ensures my safety, even though I am aware that what I disclose may provoke ridicule from those with a vision as narrow as a pea, or even from those who know the truth of my words but wish others would not believe them. And so be it. As Gandhi said, even if you are a minority of one, the truth remains the truth. Now, here is the story. In the distant past, in the ancient Middle East and Near East, there existed a race of hybrid lineages. Over thousands of years, this race extended its dominance over the entire world through control and power, establishing networks of mysterious schools and secret societies dedicated to implementing their agenda. They created institutions to imprison the masses intellectually and emotionally, inciting them to fight among themselves. Although the structure of this tribe was not solely male-dominated, with some key positions held by women, the majority were men, so I will refer to it as the Brotherhood. More specifically, the Babylonian Brotherhood. Their plan, which they call the Great Work of Ages, I shall refer to as the Brotherhood Agenda. It is worth noting that the Brotherhood's current control over the world is not the result of mere years, decades, or centuries of effort but spans millennia. The structures of today's governments, banks, corporations, military, and media were not forcibly imposed but were established by them from the outset. The Brotherhood Agenda is a meticulously crafted step-by-step plan for centralizing global control. The torch at the pinnacle of this power hierarchy is passed from generation to generation, often from parent to child. The children of these families, chosen to carry the torch, are raised from birth to understand the agenda and master the manipulation of humanity, ensuring their plan becomes a reality. From their earliest years, advancing the program becomes their mission. By the time they join the Brotherhood structure and take up the torch, their upbringing has molded and shaped them into deeply abnormal individuals. While they may be highly intelligent, they lack compassion and are so arrogant that they consider it their natural right to rule the world and control the ignorant majority, whom they view as an inferior species. Any child within the Brotherhood who threatens to challenge or reject this mold is sidelined, ensuring that only the most trustworthy individuals ascend to the highest levels of the hierarchy and gain access to the most advanced and secretive knowledge associated with these ranks. I can name some of these lineages: the British Windsor family, the Rothschilds, European royal and aristocratic families, the Rockefellers, and what is known as the Eastern Establishment of the United States, which produces American presidents, business magnates, financiers, and administrators. At the apex sits the secret society that controls humanity, operating in the shadows, far from public view or scrutiny. Despite being disparate groups, each striving for complete global domination, internal conflicts, disputes, and rivalries abound. One researcher described this brotherhood as akin to a gang of bank robbers who agree to collaborate on the job but later quarrel over how to divide the spoils. This is an exceptional description. The various groups waged wars against one another, yet, in the end, they remain united in their shared desire to execute the plan. They combine their strengths during critical moments, advancing steadily in implementing their program of action. To truly comprehend what I am referring to, we must journey back hundreds of thousands of years to uncover the starting point of humanity's mental manipulation and the roots of the family that orchestrates this grand endeavor. In truth, the deeper I delve into this matter, the clearer it becomes that the origins of these lineages and the plan to dominate Earth trace back to one or more races that arrived from other planets or advanced dimensions, what we might call beings from outer space. David Icke alludes to the theory of ancient astronauts, substantiating it with the hypothesis of the vast universe containing countless billions of planets. Yet, we must also highlight a logical flaw. The equation assumes that because there are billions of planets, the probability of intelligent, advanced life existing elsewhere is high. While this conclusion may logically follow from the premise, what if the premise itself is incorrect? What if the universe is not as vast as mainstream science claims? In such a case, the entire argument collapses. Still, it's worth noting that his proposition is cleverly crafted, as he posits that these races might have originated from other dimensions. This suggestion seems to hint at beings residing in higher realms, such as spirits or demons. However, his references prevent him from stating this outright. He goes on to provide evidence for the existence of these advanced beings who once inhabited Earth in the distant past, irrespective of debates over their point of origin. We have been told that primitive humans, by comparison to modern man, lived in the remote past. However, such notions are laughable and absurd, much like the majority of official ideas, theories, and propositions. A mere glance at the astonishing structures left from the ancient world is enough to deduce that an advanced race existed during that era. Nevertheless, historical and archaeological institutions have created their own narratives, which they call established facts, deliberately ignoring irrefutable evidence pointing to their errors. This is because their aim is not to educate people but to impose a specific viewpoint upon them. Anyone deviating from the official historical narrative faces ostracism from their peers, historians, archaeologists, and most intellectual professions. These individuals either excel at their work and feel secure in their reputation and discoveries by adhering to the official story, or they simply lack the vision to see beyond their own noses. Across the globe, there exist remarkable structures built thousands of years ago that could only have been constructed with technologies equal to or surpassing our modern advancements. For instance, in Baalbek, located northeast of Beirut in Lebanon, there are 3 colossal stone blocks, each weighing 800 tons, positioned atop a wall after being transported at least a third of a mile. Take note, this was accomplished thousands of years before the birth of Christ. Furthermore, another massive stone block weighs approximately 1,000 tons, equivalent to the weight of 3 jumbo jets. How could they have managed this? Could you ask a modern-day construction contractor to perform such a task? Of course not, they would dismiss your request as madness. In Peru, we find the enigmatic Nazca lines, where the ancients scraped away the top layer of earth to reveal the white layer beneath, creating extraordinary depictions of animals, fish, insects, and birds. These are not small in scale. Some are so vast that they can only be fully viewed from an altitude of 1,000 feet. These are but a few examples pointing to the advanced knowledge that enabled the creation of such wonders as the Nazca lines, Baalbek, the Great Pyramids of Giza, and other marvels of precision. This knowledge, clearly, must have originated from an advanced race that lived in ancient times among primitive peoples. This race was described as gods in the oral traditions of ancient civilizations and even in the texts of the Old Testament. Of course, I anticipate that followers of the Torah would deny that their scripture refers to gods, but it does. When the word God is used in the Old Testament, it is often translated from words that mean gods in the plural, such as Elohim and Adonai. In any case, it is easy to understand how a race capable of such grand and technological feats would be perceived as gods by a population incapable of grasping such abilities. This phenomenon has occurred even in modern times. For example, in the 1930s, American and Australian soldiers landed their planes in remote areas of New Guinea to supply their troops with provisions. The local inhabitants, who had never seen airplanes before, believed these soldiers were gods and incorporated them into their religious beliefs. The hypothesis that knowledge came from beyond Earth, or any external source, offers plausible explanations for many mysterious phenomena that official history confronts with a deafening silence. This also applies to the mystery of how ancient civilizations, such as the Egyptians and Sumerians, seem to emerge at the pinnacle of development and then decline, contrary to the natural progression of gradual growth from a lower level through learning and experimentation. This suggests that there must have been advanced knowledge and technologies far superior to what we see today, but humanity somehow lost them along the way. Nearly every culture around the world has ancient stories and texts describing gods who imparted knowledge to humanity. This could explain the ancients' exceptional understanding of astronomy, for example. There are also countless myths across the globe that speak of a golden age, destroyed by a flood or earthquake. The ancient Greek poet Hesiod described the world before the fall as follows. Men lived without flaws, passions, anger, or toil, in the company of divine beings, spending their days in bliss and happiness, united by love and mutual trust. The earth was more beautiful than it is today, and humans and animals spoke the same language and conversed freely. Men, though 100 years old, were still considered youths, unburdened by the diseases and frailty of old age. Their transition to the higher realms of existence was but a serene and gentle slumber. However fanciful this narrative may seem, numerous accounts similarly depict this distant past in such terms. Among the most comprehensive accounts of an advanced race were found inscribed on thousands of clay tablets, unearthed in the year 1850 by Sir Austen Henry Layard during his archaeological explorations at Nineveh, the ancient capital of Assyria, near the present-day city of Mosul in Iraq. Layard also uncovered additional discoveries in the same region, formerly known as Mesopotamia. These findings indicate that the original source of this knowledge was not the Assyrians but the Sumerians, who inhabited this land between 4,000 and 2,000 years BCE. Therefore, I will refer to these clay tablets as the Sumerian tablets. Although these tablets constitute one of the greatest historical discoveries, even 150 years after their unearthing, traditional history and education largely disregard them. Why is this the case? Simply put, because they undermine the official narrative about our ancient past. The most renowned translator of these tablets was the American scholar and writer of Soviet origin, Zecharia Sitchin. However, some researchers argue that Sitchin employed a modern Sumerian lexicon to interpret an ancient language, which renders some of his translations inaccurate. Personally, I believe his topics are fundamentally valid, supported by numerous accounts and evidence, though I remain skeptical of certain details. While I find some of Sitchin's interpretations dubious, I broadly concur with his overarching hypothesis. According to Sitchin's translations, Sumerian civilization was a gift from the gods. These were not mythical deities but tangible, corporeal beings who lived among them. The tablets refer to these gods as the Anunnaki, meaning those who came from the heavens to earth, and by the name Dingur, meaning the righteous ones of the blazing rockets. The name of Sumer itself, Kiangi, translates to the land of the lords of the blazing rockets or the land of the watchers. The tablets describe how the Anunnaki arrived from a planet called Nibiru, which orbits elliptically between Jupiter and Mars but whose elongated path places it beyond Pluto at its farthest point. Interestingly, modern scientists have recently identified a celestial body they named Planet X, located beyond Pluto, whose unstable elliptical orbit prevents it from remaining in a fixed position. Sitchin's translations of the Sumerian tablets recount how Nibiru, during the primordial formation of the solar system, collided with and destroyed a planet that once existed between Jupiter and Mars. The Sumerians named this planet Tiamat and referred to it as the watery monster. The destruction of Tiamat led to the formation of the asteroid belt, known as the Great Band or Wandering Band, discovered between Mars and Jupiter. The remnants of Tiamat eventually settled into a different orbit, potentially becoming what is now known as Earth. However, these tablets represent written accounts of oral traditions from ancient times. Thus, one must exercise caution with details that may have been altered or lost over the centuries. Personally, I harbor my own doubts about the story of Nibiru and Tiamat, as well as the alleged timeline. Nevertheless, the texts contain numerous verifiable facts, particularly regarding astronomy. The tablets map the solar system, accurately identifying the planets, their approximate sizes, orbits, and even the nature and color of Neptune and Uranus, knowledge humanity only attained in recent decades. What truly astounds in these Sumerian tablets, however, is their depiction of the creation of humankind. As strange as the preceding accounts may seem, what lies ahead is even more astonishing. Thus, as we agreed at the outset, do not lose your compass, lest you become lost in the maze of ideas and propositions. By compass, I mean your religious foundation. For no matter how outlandish the previous or forthcoming accounts may appear, rest assured they are derived from this foundation, albeit distorted by human exaggeration, or rather, diabolical distortion.